I feel like I talk about this quite a bit, but I absolutely love the fact that there's some people in my comment section that get really upset that I speak on things, even though I am a comic casual. I really do approach this channel like me and the boys just chatting about some random stuff, or me and the boys at the lunch table just chatting about stuff that, to be honest, we're probably not experts in, but we just want to talk about and rant about and argue about and debate about and so on and so forth. But one thing that I really want to talk about is this Batman animated series, called The Batman, right? It's from 2004 to 2008, I believe, and my good buddy Comic Fiend actually recommended it to me, so I started watching it, and I'm not gonna lie, I instantly am in love with it, right? The older animated shows I feel like I missed out on when I was younger look so good, and some of the characters in this show, or this animated show, look amazing. And honestly, it probably has some of the best versions of Batman's villains that I've seen. Now, that might be kind of like uneducated to say something like that, because I really don't know that many versions of Batman's villains, but I really enjoyed some of these Batman villains, right? I found this show mainly because of Comic Fiend, but I also found it because I saw it on Netflix, which shout out to Netflix for even having it. But the main villain I really want to talk about today is Oswald Cobblepot. Yeah, I said it, the Penguin, the short stubby dude, that always gets beaten up by Batman, that kind of runs a whole crime syndicate, and that whole thing. And normally he's kind of lame. Like, I honestly don't enjoy the character normally, but this version of the character I absolutely love. Now, I will admit, when I saw him for the first time, I was like, oh, he's a piece of garbage. And I'm not saying that it's good to be a piece of garbage, but for the character and him being a villain, it's good that he is a piece of garbage, if that makes any sense. But okay, that's beyond the point. Now, when we're first introduced to him, we are basically introduced to him being a fat pig, rude around women, and initially I was thinking, it's just the same old Penguin, you know what I mean? Like, no more depth of Penguin, and that was always my issue with Penguin, was that I felt like there wasn't that much depth with him, and he never felt like a real threat. It always felt like the people around him were possibly a threat, which also is the case in this show, but I want to elaborate more on why he is actually OP. Now, initially you are thinking like, okay, this penguin is just gonna be your ordinary penguin, right? Rude, disgusting, has people fight for him, and to an extent that's true, right? And you get kind of like this penguin that has these two bodyguards on him and stuff like that, and you have this idea that Cobblepot is going to be a crime boss from the shadows just like normal, but we actually see him with a duo of what we know as the Kabuki Warriors, who, by the way, are pretty damn cool looking and also pretty damn OP as well, like pretty cool, right? And they're pretty awesome when fighting Batman especially. But this isn't even the reason what makes him OP. What makes him OP is that he basically did everything that Bruce did in this reality. Yeah, I said it. The dude literally is able to throw hands, or I guess throw feet, depending on what part of the fight we're talking about, because in the thumbnail you could literally see him kicking Batman. But literally this guy has basically trained the way Batman has trained for the most part, and he does reference that he picked up a few tricks from something called the Orion. I'm not 100% sure what it's referencing. I'm sure you guys know way better than I do. I assume it's somewhere like on his travels, or somewhere in like Europe or something like that, where he went on like an excursion and he trained there and trained under probably masters of martial arts and stuff like that, right? But not only does the martial arts aspect of this make him extremely OP, because, by the way, the fact that a little short tubby version of the Penguin is able to throw hands with Batman or feet with Batman is absolutely insane. Like, we literally see him from the very start. Well, not the very start, but we see initially the Kabuki Warriors fighting Batman, right? And we're like, ooh, whoa, okay, they're kind of crazy. Like, they're pretty OP. It seems like they can really hang with Batman, right? Batman's able to defeat them under kind of different weird conventional ways, right? He traps him in like kind of like a bird cage, And after he traps him in a birdcage, we then have the Penguin. And in my brain, I'm thinking, well, this is about to be some lame fight, right? Like, when you think of the Penguin, you always think of him getting beat up by Batman or beat up by Nightwing, right? So I always think back to the Arkham days where we have Nightwing convincing Penguin to come out of his shelter because of, well, he's saying like, oh yeah, we got the Nightwing, like, come out here and you can have the last word or the last laugh, right? And then he comes out and it's like, oh shoot, like, you're not actually my henchman, you were just making a voice impression of my henchman, right? So I always think of that type of Penguin or Cobblepot, where he's, I'm not gonna lie, kind of useless, but in this version he's definitely pretty dope. We see him kind of like jump around and have this crazy agility. He straight up is like beating on Batman, like he gets the best of Batman on multiple occasions, and his umbrella is even more overpowered on top of that. He has like an arsenal of things within his umbrella. Like, he is very Batman-esque in terms of the umbrella. Like, Batman has his utility belt, right? He has his batarangs, his stun guns, or whatever, his tasers, or kind of these different things that do different aspects for his fighting, right? Penguin is kind of the same way, but with umbrellas. He has and it's a major part of his gimmick, of course, but they have multiple purposes acting as weapons, tools, or even gadgets. Some of his umbrellas are equipped with, we're talking machine guns, we're talking blades, flamethrowers, grappling hooks. Shoot, we literally see an episode where he turns his little umbrella into like a helicopter, but he also uses it as like a razor blade thing, or like a razor weapon, where he throws it at Batman and it like saws through part of a building, which is, by the way, madness, like absolute madness that he was able to do that. But on top of that, he's able to use it as literally a helicopter. Now, we also see him use it as like an electric whip, which, by the way, is awesome too. But it just makes no sense that someone so short, stubby, and fat, and this is coming from somebody who's fat as well. Like, I'm a big boy too. I'm not short, but I am a big boy. Like, how are you that agile? He is literally jumping from like tree branch to tree branch and like being like super agile, like even showing agility on the level of Batman, and even outperforming Batman from time to time, which is pretty damn wild in my opinion. Now, the Penguin does have some pretty crazy schemes throughout this. I won't go too in depth with it because I want to personally continue watching like full on everything. I did a little bit of research and I spoiled myself just a tiny bit for a later season, and I was a little upset about that. But obviously Penguin has his normal kind of like crime heists and his whole, you know, mantra of theft and elaborate schemes. I mean, even in this version, he utilizes like birds and stuff to basically steal money, jewelry, or anything like that, which is, by the way, extremely smart when you think about it. And it makes a lot of sense involving the Penguin, right? But he is a flightless bird, but still is a bird that still he's utilizing birds, to do his bidding, right? So it's actually kind of perfect that the Penguin is utilizing birds that can fly for his own advantage. I find that to be super ironic, but also super hilarious at the same time. But on top of that, Penguin is just so much cooler in this reality than any other reality that I know of. If you guys know any different Penguins, please leave them down below. I would love to see more of them. But seeing a version of Penguin that, I'm not gonna lie, I can sit here and hate, because that's a big thing. Like, needing to hate a character is something that I really, really enjoy. I know that sounds super off-putting, but I feel like when you have a villain, I really want to hate that villain. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't hate the villain, then what's the point of the villain? And I know there is some times where people are like, well, sometimes you want a villain that is like relatable, which I hear you. I'm 100%. I agree. But when it comes to Batman's villains, for the most of the time, I really just want to hate these villains, like the Joker. There is no like leeway with me for the Joker, right? In terms of the Penguin, like I don't want to feel like the Penguin morally is like in a weird place, right? And there is even another character that I don't really want to talk about here because that's probably for another video in the future. We have another character in this show that the take on the character is very evil based. It's not one of those things where you're sitting there like, you know what, I could see that him crossing that morality side from good to evil, you know, like I can see that that sometimes, you know, you got to do what you have to do, and yes, that does make him a villain, but I can see his side of it. I don't want that, especially with the Penguin, right? The Penguin has always been kind of like a womanizer and always like a terrible person. I mean, we even see Alfred in the show talk about how his grandpa, I believe, butlered the Cobblepots, and the Cobblepots were horrible to him, like absolute trash to him, which makes sense. I mean, when you look at Oswald Cobblepot or the Penguin, he is a horrible person. Like, he is flat out a horrible person. So I'm glad they really hammered that home, because I didn't want to feel as if I was supposed to feel sorry for the guy. Like, I didn't want to feel sorry for him at all. And I'm really glad that this TV show, or this animated series, other than the Batman, right? That's what it's called. I'm really glad that it hammered home that this dude is not a good guy. There is no really redeeming qualities about him, and he's just flat out a thief. He's a conductor of heists, thefts, elaborate schemes, and horrible things, right? Like, that is what he is. His plans frequently center around reclaiming his wealth, gaining power, or just flat out achieving status within Gotham's elite. That is who he is, and that's who he is to his core, right? He is a spoiled brat that is a womanizer, and that is a horrible theft or horrible thief, and also horrible person, right? That is who Penguin is, and I could give all the respect for the character itself because of it, right? He really brings out that feeling of like, wow, when you're on the screen, I absolutely despise you, but I also think it's really awesome that you're jumping around and fighting Batman like you're some seasoned martial artist. I think that's amazing. I think it's such an added thing to the Cobblepot or the Penguin kind of legacy, or the Penguin kind of character dynamic. I think adding the ability to actually throw hands with Batman is something that I really enjoy in a character. I don't like when Batman solely is able to kind of beat him up easily, and the only reason why they can even stand a chance is because of the henchmen, is because of the people that they hire. I want them to be able to, or the villain to be able to stand on their own 2 feet for the most part against someone like Batman. Now, I know that's not fully the reality all the time, and I get it, and sometimes you kind of got to sway a different direction. That's why we have different versions of the Penguin who are more of like a mob boss, who is more of like a person who orchestrates less than, more orchestrating, less being on the front lines, right? And I believe we'll even get a little bit of that in this show as well, because I got spoiled a little bit on that. And when I mean spoiled, by the way, I understand it's been out for a long time, so technically it's not even a spoiler at this point. But I mean spoiled in terms of I was doing research and I accidentally came across, so I spoiled myself. Like, it's not anybody else's fault. It was 100% my fault. So I do know that we're eventually going to get some sort of master plan type of thing from the Penguin, where he's going to collaborate with other kind of criminals or other people that are massively involved in the Batman kind of villain catalog. So that's going to be really awesome to see. And the fact that we got a Penguin that is able to throw hands, able to have these crazy awesome gadgets, right? Outside of, some of your more basic gadgets, and at the end of the day still feel like a villain when on, or like feel like a comparable villain when on the screen. Because to be honest, when Batman faces Penguin normally, when I look at it, I'm thinking, oh, well, this is kind of a wash. Like, Penguin, unless he has something insane up his sleeve, Penguin's not going to be able to do anything, right? In which we've seen, or I at least saw, multiple scenes of Batman confronting Penguin, and Penguin always having a little bit of something, right? Having his martial arts to lean on, having his ability to fight to lean on, or having his crazy overpowered umbrella to lean on, right? These are aspects of the Penguin that I thought were really awesome, which made him so much a more overpowered version of any other version that I know of. But like I said, I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below about the TV show, about the series, about the animated show, about the Penguin himself in this version. Let me know if you know any other really overpowered versions of the Penguin. I would love to hear, and I would honestly love to go check them out myself, even if they're in comic form or anime TV show, or whatever you want to call it, anything really. So I would love to hear suggestions from you guys. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube believes that you'll enjoy this one, so might as well go check it out.